what happened to my husband and the disease that we are now facing is a huge part of our lives now.
So this disease is something that is considered the greatest growing neurological condition in the world. In the United States alone, 90,000 people will be diagnosed a year, which if you want the Milwaukee perspective, that's 3 times the attendance to the average Brewers game, so 3 AmFam Fields worth of people. And if you do the math, that comes out to somebody being diagnosed every 6 minutes. So last year, I was one of those people that was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's disease.
And I couldn't even say what Jason had, that he was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's disease without crying. So we've come a long way in a year.
We have.
It's been a long journey. He was only 39 years old, John.
That's so young.
I know. So what Michael J. Fox has, he was diagnosed at like 27 or 28. What Muhammad Ali had, that is what Jason's facing. What is Parkinson's, Jason? Do you want to explain?
Yes, Parkinson's disease is a neurological disorder that affects the dopamine-producing neurons in your brain. It's considered a movement disorder, but it affects movement, motor symptoms, and also has non-motor symptoms.
Right. So when you think of dopamine, you usually think of mood, right?
Right.
Like how it affects your mood
Yes.
and but it affects your movement as well.
I didn't realize that.
I didn't know that either. So we wanted to share the journey of what he's been going through for the past 2 years. We want to empower others to keep searching for answers, because that's what Jason did. And if you're not getting any, because you had to zigzag through how many doctors? We thought that it was a headache. We thought that, he just had knee problems because of the movement. Physical therapy. What else? A pinched nerve.
Yeah, so I'd seen many doctors, and this is no discredit to any doctor that I saw. It's simply the challenge with something like early onset Parkinson's disease. It's like a snowflake's disease. Everybody that gets it has slightly different symptoms, and a lot of those symptoms when you're young can be credited to other things. Like, you mentioned my walk. I felt like I limped a little, one foot wasn't moving right. Well, I hurt my knee in high school, and that's kind of always been a slight thing, so I just pushed it off to that. The other thing that kind of made me take notice is doing very simple things with my left hand, like washing my right arm in the shower. Just took effort. Combing my hair took more effort. I like music. I would tap my hand along to the steering wheel, and the left hand would just sort of like run out of steam, like it couldn't keep up. And at work, I'm a videographer, director of photography, so I run camera a lot. So having a camera on your shoulder, you support the lens with the left hand and then bring it back to the body if you need to make changes. So your moves need to be very precise. And I noticed even the simple reaching movement would kind of go in jerks or steps, like it was not fluid anymore.
Yeah.
But initially, you could explain a lot of that away.
Right.
Especially when you're a young man, you're not thinking any form of Parkinson's disease is possible.
Exactly, yeah. And it's, nothing that was, predominant in family. My, grandpa had it, but it was something, I didn't have a tremor, which is the common thing people think of.
That's what you think of. Yeah, you think of that tremor, someone shaking, and early onset, that usually isn't a marker.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed in early onset. Like I said, symptoms are very unique person to person, which makes it difficult. You can explain things away and, kind of your rationale, like you said, it's not a big deal. You could just kind of push it away in general until it hits a point where you just kind of know something's wrong.
So we went to a number of doctors, including a neurologist, who found out the disease that you had. And what did you almost do with that appointment last year?
I almost canceled that appointment. I had seen lots of doctors, and kind of felt like we had found, a nerve issue that was causing the hand thing, but there was still that little bit of me in the back of my mind that just, didn't feel like all the dots had been connected, all the pieces were there. So, I talked to Julia. She's like, we just keep it. Well, it doesn't hurt to have the appointment. If nothing comes out of it, nothing comes out of it. And
so you thought you knew what it was and almost didn't go to the appointment that led to you being diagnosed?
We thought it was just a pinched nerve, and he might have to have surgery to get his left hand to go, but nope.
Holy cow.
So we'll share, after this short break, the one thing that the neurologist noticed in Jason that's so simple and you do every day that immediately he knew that he needed a brain scan.
That's up next on WTMJ. Jason, we're so glad that you're with us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, John. It's an important topic.
Even saying it, wouldn't we tear up when we first said it?
Tear up, or just have a hesitation. It's been hard to say for a while. To be honest, feel I'm kind of barely getting at the point where
you're ready
accepting it and talk about it.
We're ready to tell everyone so that they have hope. And a lot of people may have something going on. It's like, what is going on? Go to the doctor. If you're not getting the right answers, Keep on searching. So we're going to pick up on the specialty doctor that you went to, the neurologist that found the disease that you almost canceled. What was the one thing that he noticed with your walk that he goes, I think that you have Parkinson's?
One of the big things with people with Parkinson's is it's something you do automatically without thinking about when you walk. You know, you swing your arms, you move your hips. Well, because Parkinson's affects the movement part of your brain, your movement tapers down, or it doesn't have the amplitude you move with. So the biggest thing is my left arm wouldn't sway. It doesn't move when you walk. So it was kind of awkwardly against my body, which, then your foot kind of drags a little bit. But the arm swing is a very visual thing. So the other hard part with Parkinson's disease, because there's so many symptoms and things, there's really no one test to tell you have it. So a lot of the diagnosis, it's called a clinical diagnosis. It's done by observation.
I mean, the only time I notice him not swinging his arm when he ever walks towards me is if he has something in his hand or if he's coming back from a restaurant. And I thought he just was trying not to bump into anyone and being nice. But yeah, that was the one thing, John. Isn't that odd?
Yeah. So, Julia, you're with him more than anybody else. But some of the things he described, you wouldn't necessarily see when he's washing his right shoulder or when he's scratching his right arm or when he's working with the camera. Did you notice things that led you to believe? I wonder if there's something going on with Jason.
No, I just saw that he was losing a little bit of steam, but I mean, it's not his predominant hand.
Right.
So because he's right-handed, so that was another
Easy
disguise.
way to push things off.
So you got a brain scan.
Yeah,
that was the next step, and he came home. He came home with like this Parkinson's pamphlet. I'm like, what is this? This is not what you have. And then you go in for the brain scan.
Yeah. So there's other little hand tests and other tests they do that kind of led the doctor down that road. And he said, because of your age, I want to do a few tests, and one of them being the brain scan, which is called a DAT scan. So you go to the hospital, you get this radioactive material injected in you, and you go home for 5 or 6 hours. Then you come back for the specialized brain scan, and it makes the dopamine neurons in your brain light up. And
so, if you text 855-616-1620, you can see a normal brain and then someone who has Parkinson's. And in the dead center of your brain, it glows because they injected you with a radioactive material. And that's where the dopamine lives, and it will glow.
Yeah. So basically, that's kind of the number is by the time the average person is diagnosed, 60 to 80% of those neurons are dead or damaged. So that's why in the abnormal scan, it doesn't light up because there's not cells to bond to.
You have to text watch. Sorry.
Yep, text the word watch. Watch to 855-616-1620. You can see the scan that we're talking about. It's really interesting.
So
my knowledge, that's, even that scan is a relatively new test. And even that still only gets you to, one of Parkinson's is one of like 6 diseases that fall into a category that it could be. So even that doesn't.
So even then you didn't know definitively. Is that right? Did you?
We got the results pretty quick. We thought it was going to be 4 days. How quickly did you get the results, Jason?
It was probably 20 minutes. I had enough time to leave the scan, get to the garage, and in the car on the way home, I got the text message that I had a new test result in my chart.
So you didn't get a call from a doctor. You didn't get it. You found out because ding, my chart said you have a new test result?
Correct. So, no political stance. Part of the Affordable Care Act is doctors have to release your test results. So my chart pushed the results. I pulled over, I opened the test, and right there at the top, it says abnormal. So I immediately knew something was wrong.
Whoa. So no time to be with your doctor, no time to be with Julia. It's in your chart.
I was at work, and I'll never forgive myself for being at work because I didn't know that this was going to happen. But at the end of my shift, I always call him, and the gate was opening, and he said, just come home. I said, you got the results, didn't you? And he said, just come home. And we hung up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my life is going to change forever. And I opened up the door to our home, and I had all my bags. And I saw him on the ground sobbing. And I said, how are you doing? And he goes, not good. And I dropped all my bags in the hallway, and I ran and got on my knees. And I've never seen anyone sob like that, ever. And he said, my life is over. I'm 39 years old. Look. And he showed me his phone. And he just kept crying. I'm 39. My life is over. And thank God for the Parkinson's Foundation and for the Michael J. Fox Foundation, because when you are Googling Parkinson's, and it was just a very broad, we didn't know it was early onset.
Yeah, when you talk to doctors and you talk about Parkinson's, there's 3 words that are forever seared into my brain. That's progressive, degenerative, and incurable.
Yeah, and I
Those are
At least
rough
at this point,
words.
incurable.
there's no cure. And
Wow.
I said to him, I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't even remember what the vows were. I said, in sickness and what is it? In sickness and in health.
E for effort.
Yeah. E for effort. Yeah, exactly. We went out to dinner. That was a fog, right?
That's the whole drive home from
Yeah.
there to dinner to going to bed that night was just a fog, to be honest.
Yeah. And I remember going to bed that night and he said, "Can you put your hand on my chest?" And I said, "Sure." And
Wow.
he went to sleep and you were doing your little snore and I just cried all night. I did. I cried all night. But the reason why we're sharing this is because, I think that a lot of people are going through a tough time and we were able to see it through. And we got a second opinion at Mayo and he was a great doctor and he said, "Yep, you have it. And you have about 43 years left to live."
Yeah, then there, learned more and found out, early onset progresses slowly. It's a whole kind of different thing than, late onset. If you get it in your 70s, 80s, it's very different.
Very different,
Yeah.
which is what we did not know when we were waiting to
Right.
see the doctor. We did get in with a doctor the very next day, but the offices were all closed by the time he got the results.
Yeah, on that day when you were driving home.
Yeah, so thankfully I called my doctor the next day and they were able to get me in the schedule and, at least have him interpret it and, talk to a doctor about it and not just sit on the test results.
So with the second opinion and everything, it's been maybe about 6 months and he's on a medication that was invented maybe in the 60s or 70s.
Something like that,
That's
yeah. It's sort of the gold, still the gold standard. It's the one thing that helps. So it basically is, in a way, think of it like insulin. It replaces the dopamine that my brain no longer makes to be able to move and get you as close to normal as you can.
So 50 years later, that's still the gold standard?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And
I mean,
that's why, yeah.
They have other variations of it, and
Yeah.
there's other things that help, but that's
Yeah.
still the gold standard.
So that's why we have the Parkinson's Foundation here after this break to talk about ways that we're trying to find a cure.
So for people who are listening and are trying to be able to relate to this, early onset, is that what Michael J. Fox had?
Yes,
Has?
yeah. He I think was diagnosed at
Like in the
29,
80s.
28. He was very young.
Okay. And then traditional, I don't even know if that's the right word, but is what we think of when you're 85 years old and you
Right.
get diagnosed with Parkinson's, which is very different.
Yeah, that usually progresses faster. I mean,
Yeah.
the symptoms are similar and things like that, but yeah, as far as progression in that sense, it's very different.
All right, so we're going to continue with your story. We're going to hear from the we're going to hear from the Parkinson's Foundation, right? Parkinson's
Yes.
Foundation, and another gentleman who's living with Parkinson's. I thank you for telling your story. We are joined in the studio now by Allison Liefer with Parkinson's Foundation Midwest. Jason is still here with us as well. Allison, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start with your reaction to Jason and Julia's story and their journey.
Oh, well, I just really appreciate Jason and Julia sharing their story today. We were talking before today a little bit about what they've been through, and I said it's wonderful if you even share your story with 3 people, much less this whole listening area, because it will help empower, hopefully, others to kind of recognize those early signs and make sure they, get to their doctor and try to face Parkinson's head on.
For
That's
sure.
my goal. My goal is for no one to ask, what is Parkinson's? I just don't want people to ask that anymore.
And if you're just joining us, we're having the discussion because Julia's husband, Jason, has been diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's.
At 39
Thank you
years
for sharing
old.
your story.
Yes, no, thank you for letting me share it. Can you tell me about the Parkinson's Foundation? You have some pillars, and
Yeah.
I've learned a lot. I've done a lot of research in the past year.
You both have. The Parkinson's Foundation, our goal is we're a national nonprofit, and our goal is to make life better for people living with Parkinson's disease. And so we do that in a couple of different ways. We do that through care, working with medical professionals around the country and, in fact, the globe, and by investing in research and providing free educational resources, programs, and a really comprehensive website where folks can go when they, maybe get that diagnosis on My Chart and are looking for verified information to help you through your journey.
Can you tell me about, is Parkinson's on the rise from what you're seeing?
Yeah, well, as Jason mentioned, the current estimated incidence is about 1 million people in the United States at any time, with 90,000 new diagnoses every year. And that's expected to go up, partly just because the population is aging, and also perhaps because people are becoming a little bit more aware of PD and able to diagnose it sooner. So it is on the rise.
We know that the disease is different, whether it's traditional Parkinson's or early onset Parkinson's. Is how people that are diagnosed with one or the other different? I know it's hard to generalize, but you're younger when you get diagnosed with early onset, but you're also told that you'll live a full life. You'll live a full life. Can you talk about the diagnosis and how people react to it?
Well, I can say that the most important thing to do is what you all have already started doing is to, just because there is no one trajectory for a person with Parkinson's, everybody's disease is different and the path is different, is to work with a doctor that you trust, a neurologist if possible, and ideally a movement disorder specialist, and to really kind of work together to find the right combination of medications and then work with other members of your care team, or take on yourself lifestyle modifications and exercise and things you can do, because that exercise and other treatments will help you live a full life.
The thing I really appreciate about Parkinson's Foundation is that they pour in millions of dollars, like $3 million into one of your most recent studies. Can you talk about a recent study that you're working on?
Sure. Yeah, thanks. We invested $24 million in 2023 alone, and we invest in researchers who are studying the basic science behind Parkinson's disease to try and unlock what causes it, and therefore eventually better treatments and a cure. And one of the biggest things we're doing now is a study called PD Generation, or PD Gene. It's a free genetic testing and counseling study for anyone with a Parkinson's diagnosis. And we're making those results available to scientists across the globe, so that the results, but also some of that genetic data and material, so that they can keep working towards those new treatments and
it's
cure.
open source, so it's not protected or anything, so everybody can get it. What we're going to be talking about next is Moving Day.
Yes.
That is happening next month, May 18th, and I'm super excited to share about it. It's going to be happening at Hart Park on May 18th.
It's a walk, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's just a quick walk at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'd love to invite you guys, if you want to text WALK to our talk and text line, 855-616-1620. It will take you to Team Julia and Jason.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you can join our
Yes.
team or donate or show up. We would love to invite everybody to come. And 100% of it goes to the Parkinson's Foundation.
So, Jason, having been diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's, how important is it that you have the Parkinson's Foundation and you have organizations like that?
It's been a huge difference. I mean, for me, I'm very much a person that does the internet deep dive. And for me, having that knowledge has sort of been the only way that, I can be okay with what's going on, learning that, there are other treatment options. She mentioned exercise, and, that even recent studies have come out that is the only thing that has been shown to slow or even reverse kind of what's going on with Parkinson's disease. So that having that information easy available has been huge.
More of our conversation with Jason, Allison, and we're going to be joined by Robert Bandsfield in the studio as well. He has a very unique perspective on this whole topic. In the studio with us is Jason Klappa, Julia's husband, Allison Liefer with the Parkinson's Foundation, and Robert Bandsfield, who also has Parkinson's. Before we bring Bob in, Jason, I know there's something you wanted to make sure that you were able to say.
Yeah, we talked about, how best to handle this, and I just wanted to say, too, find your support group between your doctors. In this case, I have Julia and my family, and I couldn't imagine this journey without Julia. From the start, she's been behind me, has said whatever it takes, wherever we need to go, appointments, whatever needs to happen. So find your way to get that. Don't be afraid to ask your family for help. And even social media has been huge. Seeing all of the other people my age sharing their story, knowing that you're not alone, that, oh yeah, these weird things sort of pop up, and kind of find your support group.
And as a friend of Julia's, who I've been friends with for a long time, Jason, to hear how she talks about you and what she says and how courageous she is, It's been inspiring, Julia. It's been pretty amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Let's bring Bob in.
Yes.
Hello there. Good afternoon.
Hey. Can you tell us what you have?
Well, I have Parkinson's. I am 64 and a half. I was diagnosed 2 weeks before my 59th birthday. So early onset Parkinson's is based on your age in part. So some doctors say it's anyone younger than 50. Some doctors say it's anyone younger than 60. I had the shuffling gait. I was a marathon runner. So I was actually in for some physical therapy because I was having some problems with my gait. I was listening to your story, Jason. As a runner, I'm used to keeping my arms straight at the side.
I would do the
Bent to the
same
side,
too.
no swing.
Yeah, that was one thing where when they said, your arms would swing, I was like, I kind of don't when I run.
So I was being seen by a physical therapist, went on the treadmill within 3 minutes. She said, have you seen a neurologist? She knows my shuffling gait. I am fortunate to live in Chicago and have access to world-class medical teams, including the neurology team at Northwestern University, who is one of the Parkinson's Foundation Centers of Excellence. So I was diagnosed 2 weeks before my 59th birthday, and I got really quiet for a while. So, then I told myself it's not a death sentence. I got active, was busy. I ran my 7th Chicago Marathon on my 60th birthday.
Wow.
Not much of a runner these days, but there is so much out there. It's the combination of, can't stress enough how important exercise and fitness is. It's as important as the medications. And getting out there, and the foundation is an unbelievable resource for what's happening, research studies, care studies, support for people who are partners and people who are supporting us who have Parkinson's.
I agree. And you're going to be at Moving Day, too.
I will be at Moving Day. Actually, it'll be my 4th time at Moving Day Milwaukee in beautiful Hart Park. What
fantastic.
A beautiful park, yeah.
Yeah,
If you have
no,
more information on Moving Day, you can text the word WALK, W-A-L-K, to 855-616-1620. The talk and text line, 855-616-1620. Text the word WALK, and you can get all the information.
It goes straight to Team Julia and Jason.
I love it.
You can join our team,
Yes.
or you can donate, or do whatever you'd like. That'd be great. Go ahead, Jason. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I have done before diagnosis, I tried to exercise regularly. My job's very active, but knowing how important exercise is and sort of varied exercise, I have kind of done the minimum of 30 minutes. Try to do something a day, or you notice.
Your exercise is important, and you were talking earlier about the gold standard of medication that's been out there for 60 years. So when I was diagnosed, I sat down with my neurologist, and we basically came up with a plan to try and keep me at the current level for 6 to 8 years. So I'm getting close to 6 years. And the thought was, over those 6 to 8 years, there'll be maybe new drugs, new technologies available that weren't available when I was 59 and a half, or not quite 59. And sure enough, I'm a big believer in research studies. Mm-hmm. I like everybody listening, even if you don't have Parkinson's, to get involved and see your doctor and get involved in at least one research study. And if you have Parkinson's, the foundation is an excellent resource for all kinds of links on what's happening and different research studies. But I've already been in a research study on the next generation drug that is not available on the market yet today. So there is hope. There are new drugs coming pending FDA approval. And there's other new technologies out there on the horizon. So I don't know. They're not technically cures, but what they're doing is they're really extending the quality of life while the foundation continues to focus on a cure.
I was going to say every I could say in my journey, I'm still young to this at this point. I'm just sort of getting started. But any little thing you can do for the quality of life makes a huge difference. Every % you can get closer to normal and not be stiff, be in pain, whatever your symptoms are.
Education is so important. There's some really troubling stats. 50% of people in the country who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's don't even see a neurologist. Part of that's because they don't. Well, maybe they've canceled their appointments, or more often that they're in rural America and don't have access to quality care. And then out of those 50% who actually see a neurologist, only 6% see someone who specializes in movement disorders. So it's really very specialized.
Yeah, one of the people that I communicate with on social media is over in the UK, and he had to go private outside of their healthcare, or it was like a 9 or 12 month wait. And as you're going through, all these symptoms, he had a tremor. He literally could barely walk. And he's like, now I'm waiting 12 months. So there's definitely need for neurologists and movement disorder specialists in our country and across the world. I mean, it's a scary thing for everybody across the world.
Yeah,
to be
and
dealing
that's what
with.
the Parkinson's Foundation has. They have certifications, right? Like Frederick Hospital has that.
Yeah, you're lucky here in the Milwaukee area, not only to have some great neurologists at the Aurora system, but also to have Frederick Medical College of Wisconsin, which is one of the Parkinson's Foundation's designated comprehensive care centers. So I mentioned we were working with professionals across the country and, in fact, the globe to raise that standard of care and try to hold the profession to best practices. And so Frederick's a great resource for that here, too.
Bob, what do you say to a young couple like Julia and Jason who are new to this journey and are still trying to wrap their head around what's going on?
Great question. The first thing I say, Parkinson's is not a death sentence. So, and don't be embarrassed. When I was first diagnosed, I was very embarrassed. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I didn't want to be labeled as the guy with Parkinson's. Now I'm the open book. You ask me a couple of questions and I'll be rambling for hours. I want people, to know it's not a death sentence. It's the right combination of exercise, medication, support, research. There will be a cure out there. In the meantime, we're doing things to sustain, quality of life. I tell people, get off the couch. I mean, you were talking earlier about the age at which people first diagnosed. I think it is the older you are, I think the harder it is because older people tend to be less active. So the more active you are, regardless of your age, the longer you'll sustain the quality of life that you have today.
Yeah. Oh, Jason's been working out like crazy every day.
Yeah.
I'm not good at the half measures.
Yeah,
It's sort of
it's
all or none.
It's interesting just the difference that it has made with your movement.
It's huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're right.
It
It's
is, yeah.
muscle
I mean,
memory. It
Right,
really,
right.
really is muscle memory.
Yeah, and I mean, especially for me, like lifting and things like that, sort of getting back to that full range of motion, and you kind of turn your brain off a little bit.
Right.
Doing some of those, and kind of it helps, both sides of the body work together better, and kind of get back to sort of that.
I mean, even things like balancing and yoga. Yoga is so important at doing the stretching and keep it. People who have Parkinson's often get stiff, and so stiffness is one of the symptoms. So get out there and start doing the moving and the
Yeah.
downward dog.
And
or
that's what Jason have. I guess an example I can give you for you to picture it is when you sit down after standing for a long time, your back goes,
Right.
Jason doesn't have that.
Yeah,
He's
doesn't.
constantly stiff.
Yeah, not only just do things not move right, they don't relax. I mean, that's one thing I've told people that, and it kind of shocks them. It's I sit down in a chair or lay in bed and kind of have to take that little mental checklist, like, all right, it's one hip up funny, or
So you're talking about kind of laying in bed. So to give you an example of different research studies, so I'm wearing an Apple Watch right now, which is actually part of another research study. So all my activity, and I wear it to sleep, because there's two different, all my activity during the day is monitored and measured and reported into a research team. And my sleep patterns are monitored. And I'm doing this for over a year. And so they're looking for trends and looking for, how can they help people get better quality of sleep?
Because Parkinson's can affect sleep.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to wrap up. Jason, what is your one message that you have for somebody who may be listening and to give them hope?
Like Bob said, it took me a while to come to terms that it's not a death sentence. Life is not over. Your life will be different. It'll be harder, but you can still live a normal life, and keep fighting. Things will get better.
Keep fighting.
All right, a couple things. The talk and text line. Text the word WALK, W-A-L-K. It's a way that you can help make a difference to 855-616-1620. Text the word WALK. You can be part of Team Jason and Julia.
Yeah.
I'm going to join the team. So you should join
good.
the team. Talk and text. Text the word WALK to that phone number that we always give out. What's the web address for the foundation if people want more information, Allison?
It's parkinson.org. So Parkinson without an S.org. And Moving Day is movingdaymilwaukee.org. So check us out.
Check that out. Bob, you're an inspiration. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
Reach out to the foundation for help
Reach
and
out.
support.
Allison, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Jason, I admire you so much. Thank you for being here to tell your story. And Julia, I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud of you.
Thank
You
you.
should be proud of yourself. You're inspiring other people.
I'm proud of my husband, for sure.
The text line is, people are inspired. Thank you very much,
Awesome.
the three of you, for being
Thank
part of
you.
the conversation.
Awesome.
Text the word WALK.